Good afternoon. It's Friday, and you're pleased to know I did manage to wind some more bobbins last night. So, I haven't done any today. So, but hopefully, Tenchi! I was wondering how you were doing, my friend. Haven't seen you for a few days, so it's good to see you. Ever so pleased to see you. Definitely pleased to see you. Full of the joys of everything. You know how it is. There we go. So, we need to move you over. 2 whole pairs of nothing. And then you. Like this. The only thing that is kind of true is for some reason, like this one, they just wiggle around inside the stick. I think it needs to be slightly tighter. They're a little bit lively in that scenario. And then you. And we will need the contents of you, but not right now. Now we need a pot of bobbins. For I have sticks with bobbins in a tin. For I wound more bobbins. But somewhere out at the bottom are... See, they just kind of slide out, which is slightly annoying that they're not quite... Some of them are better than others, which is kind of weird. Some of the sticks hold them really nicely, and some of the sticks do not. And again, this is a wobbly one, as they fall out quite easily. So hence I put them in the tin, because, well, there was nothing to really hold them in the tin. So they go in there. And we now need you. And I shall put these on my table, so that hopefully I don't catapult them all over the floor. Because, well, that's definitely a thing at the moment. And need a pin. So I'm doing alright. Well, as much as I ever do. So, now, you have come undone by the looks of it. These half-hitch knots are also getting on my nerves because they're not staying where they're supposed to. And then they merge, of course, into the windings around the bobbin. And that's, kind of helpful of it. Or not, as the case may be. Hence, you'll notice some of the other pair of these, actually, because this one's properly come off, have an elastic band on. And when I mentioned putting the elastic band on, Jamie piped up with, hey, that sounds like my brace elastics that I used to have, kind of thing. And I kind of went, brace elastics? Now there's a thought, because they're actually smaller than the friendship bracelets elastics, which is what I'm using. So that struck me as they would... See, look, literally, it grew, and I didn't even touch it. Hence, they get elastics, because growing is not a thing. Growing is not what I need, Actually, before I do that, rather pointlessly, I need to put a pin in the hole. So we put a pin in the hole, like that, and take you out, like that. And we put you in there for a moment, and then we look really confused. Anyway, that's right. Moment of confusion. Then we get another pin. So yes, we are. okay, don't you? We are okay. And then we need another pair of bobbins. And the knot comes off the thing. Now, many of these bobbins definitely do not have enough thread for an additional square. But I'm not entirely convinced they're going to make this triangle. Especially this one. However, oh you arse! That's right, my knot just came undone. The one that joins the two bobbins together. These knots are extra frustrating, and this is something I was discussing with Nautica before the stream, because the video on how to do said knot is accurate but highly patronising. So here's how it goes, and bear in mind I've got my glasses off so I can't really see, and it's a bit further away than I want. So I've got curly bits of string, and you put one under the other so that the one going down is under this one going across. You then have to wrap it round your thumb, often best by wrapping it round your finger so that it stays round the bottom of your thumb. You then have to kind of tug about with these a bit so that you can get this end and a loop. Take your fingers out of the loop and try and get this bit through this hole here and up to join this one. You then let go, and you need to try and tension them, and 90% of the time it grabs, and 1% of the time it just slides all the way through and you end up cursing like a navvy. So I've asked Nautica, the king of knots, to assist because, well, frankly, I need the assistance because this bunny ears bollocks is not funny, and it is the video on how to do it is he goes off on, oh, well, it might not be a boy, and you're just like your brain switched off on what the knot was doing. But the general gist of it is this one here must go round the top ear, but between the two ears, like this. So hence trying to kind of do that. Then this one gets tucked in through the loop, which is easier said than done with flimsy thread that's slightly curly and knots that want to move around and loops that don't stay where you put them. You then grab hold of the two bunny ears, great, and you're supposed to pull on the tails. Well, sometimes I do this and I get a good knot, and sometimes I fucking don't. And there must be a better way than this whole wrapping it round your thumb and bunny ears crap, because there just must, right? It must be, there must be a better way. This goes through here. And the question is, am I pulling on all the right bits? See, that one's grabbed. That one doesn't want to move. That's a good knot. And then I need to trim his ears off at a fairly close kind of notion, because you don't need the bunny ears in your work. And now I have very dirty glasses. Excuse me, let me clean my glasses a bit. I mean, not that it helps, because all the coatings come off, so they look dirty even when they're not. That just made a big smear on the bottom there. Let's try that. That's a bit better. And that's probably a bit long. And, well, somewhere in here, there it is. is the half hitch knot thing that needs to be nearer the top, so I can change it and grab hold of it and make it a little bit shorter than that, because I'm pretty sure that's far too long. Right, let's see where that falls out now. Put that over the pin, missed, there we go. And then you go over there like that, and you've come off because you're a shit. And you can see why I put the elastic bands on the other ones, can't you? And it's not the bobbin's fault per se, but some bobbins do seem to be way better at letting the threads come off. That's just a thing, right? It is just a thing. So, yes. So you go in there like that. That comes out. That goes there like that. So, twisty, twisty, and back we go. See, I swear, you're getting longer. Just every time I adjust the other one, you grow just to stay longer. Bobbins. Now I need you two. On it, and we grab you like this. Give a bit of a tug on that, because well, that's a thing. And then twisty, twisty. We add the next one. What, did I reuse that pin? I did. Okay. Oh, get a new pin. So, it is the joys of bobbins. This is definitely sometimes the hardest part, because when you're joining the bobbins, they don't have anything to hold the other end still. Oh, for goodness sake, dog, stop whining. And then let's come off the top here. So, I didn't. There he is. So you go on there like this, and you go over there like that. And I will now steal you because I've got access to requirements, and you can go in there like that. Right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Hurrah! Twisty, twisty. Although that looks too many twisty twisties. No, maybe not. Help has arrived! Hurrah! I have asked Nauticelt to look at the overly patronising bunny ears explanation of the knot that I was doing, and to grab some sewing thread, because obviously if you do it with anything thicker, well, if you bend it, it makes a loop and you can use the loop, or it will retain the loop, whereas sewing thread just kind of wilts in the corner, right? And of course the ends of my sewing thread, because they've been round bobbins, are curly. So I've kind of set him a bit of a challenge to assist as king of the knots in how to achieve that very knot, but without the shitty bits. Because, you know, the going round your thumb and, you know, bunny ears and, you know, what gender is it, ha ha ha. Let's not, right, have all this, you know. Can we have... Yeah, but I can't do it with a needle. That would be... That would be complicated. I mean, I haven't got another 2 pairs of... I'm sure I could make 2 pairs, but you literally just... I don't know whether you saw me. I just did it on thing, because two of the ends pulled apart, right? And it took me like 5 goes to get it so that it didn't just slide off the other end. So I need something that's less... Exactly! Hello! This is my problem! You know, I've got curly ends, I've got thread that wilts, I've got bobbins on one end of it, and in the other ear I've got like this patronising dude talking about bunny ears. Bear in mind, of course, I have now memorised the action, but I am struggling because it's just not as easy when you've got curly, wilty, stupid thread, and wrapping it round your thumb is kind of hard work. I mean, hang on. Let me grab these 2 bobbins and a dark cloth. Hang on. We want a dark cloth. Give me my dark cloth so that you can see it as much as I am able. Right. Let me pull these. Let me snip these apart for you, my good friend Nautical. I am going to do this, and you can watch and laugh. Yes! Hello! Hello! Yes, I know! Welcome to my world, right? So let me zoom in. Right. I'll try and do it on stream, but it's very difficult because, well, it's thread. So, if I make this a bit longer, because, well, we need something to work with. Oh, and this one's come off the bloody half hitch anyway. Right, so let's put the half hitch back on. Right. So, these are quite good because they're not curly. This is unusual, but this is probably because I didn't wind them actually. They just happen to be not curly. So, one goes under the other, and the one underneath is the vertical one, so that if I do that, it's trapped underneath. This then goes... Now, I have to use my finger to make the loop, otherwise it just runs away. At least temporarily. Then I go in front of the other bunny ear, and now I can take my finger out. And sometimes this loop is amenable, so this one's being really nice, which is a bad example, because 99% of them are not. You then try and poke this through the thread, but of course, static and life means that they join. You then grab the bunny ears, and this is the most clearest you will see this knot in living history, right? And I am slightly off thing, but you can see the knot, right? So you then pull on the tails, and you hope, and you give everything a pull, because you have to pull the ears as well. And sometimes it just pulls apart, like it did just then, and sometimes it do not. And so you do it again. Bunny ears. And I find that having a really long one there helps sometimes, because that's the one that you're trying to poke with. And it's just got caught on my thumb, and it's got to go behind this one. No, behind this one. See, this is the problem. They wilt around. They don't stay where you put them. Wilt around behind that one. There we go. And in front of that one. This then has to go through this hole here, which it's done with glee. But I also don't really want to waste too much of it, in preference. So now you kind of pull on it, and there you go. That one worked. That one actually worked. But there must be a better way of doing this. There really, really must. There must be a way of being able to achieve this with some of my sanity remaining at the end of it. Because at the moment, that's not likely. Not with, well, Christ, 11, well, 10 and a bit more squares to go, right? It's 12 and a bit more squares to go, whatever. It is not proving good for my soul. 1, 2, 3, 4. And Nautical, king of the knots. Please, please recreate this knot for me in a way that will help keep my sanity as much as is able, while doing that knot, because that knot is quite a good knot in my opinion when it works. But the problem is I don't really understand the difference between when it works and when it doesn't. Better go back to normal view. Here you go. Don't really understand the difference between why it works and why it doesn't work. And and 90% of the time it spits in my face and laughs at me, or at least that's how it feels. And so please, my dear Nautical, help, help. This is your task, and I will love you forevermore and dedicate a square in your name. And oh look, Spambot moron. We don't like Spambot morons. By report said Spambot moron, Spambot moron, Spambot. Next. Yes, I agree that that is true. Bye bye. Spambot. Here we go. Right. I seem to get one a stream. At least one a stream. Usually only the one, but, you know, it's very rare I have a stream without one. Oh, and I haven't opened my email, so I won't get pinged when they've dealt with it. Open my email. And of course, one of the other side effects of the sewing thread kind of level string that we use in lace making is I appreciate all the work that you will do, because obviously, and to be honest, the bunny ear stuff is not that good for this level of fine stuff. Now, I've got thicker stuff, so for example, I would bet if I was doing it with, say, this level thread, it would be alright. But this is like 3 times the thickness of that, and that is generally not used in lace making. To be honest, I can't see weavers doing it. Now, I do have a weaver's knotting machine, but it's about as good as trying it the bunny ears method. Half the time it doesn't work, and it jams, and it gets pissy. And then it bends, and then it hates everybody. So that's not entirely accurate either. The weaver's knot is supposed to be a really strong, secure knot that doesn't move once set in any direction. And the problem is as I've seen, right, so well, here was the thing. I found, I because, you know, having lots of bobbins to tie together, I was mooching through the, quote, weaver's knots, looking for a non-patronising version of the bunny ears. And I came across one, and I couldn't help but laugh at her. For all the wrong reasons. She was doing a very serious video, and she did a concise, professional video. But what she did was she made a slip knot in the most weird-ass manner I've ever seen in my life, where you make, like, 3 loops round your finger, and you pass this loop over that loop, and that loop over that loop, and then that makes a slip knot, and you're like, just make a fucking slip knot. Seriously, love, just make a slip knot. And then she puts the other thread through the slip knot, and just pulls. Well, it's not going to fucking have nothing. It's a slip knot. And in her own words, it only works when you then tighten the slip knot so that the other thread makes a little kind of road bump, and the slip knot's kind of round the sides of the road bump. The moment there's any tension on the road bump thread, it'll fall out. Well, it's not a weaver's knot then, honey, because weaving's all about extreme tension. So that's not it. And so, you know, hello, Silver of Dragon. how are you? I was in a stream the other day, and it was not the Travelling Tatters one, and they were talking about crafts and stuff, and the streamer mentioned that I do lace making, and I mentioned you because obviously you do too. So I doubt there will be much change in the universe as a result, but I thought I'd mention that, I thought of you and mentioned you so that it's not Liz does bobbin making. Yeah, no, Liz is not only bobbin maker. There is other good, better people than me to be watching, so I recommended you. So there you go. Everybody's out this afternoon, which is nice. It's nice to see you all. Okay. I saw that. I saw it. I saw it. Bad bobbin. I saw it again. I felt it that time. You cheating little swine. Keep slipping. It's funny because some of them don't, some of them do, some of them... And it almost seems to be... I mean, bear in mind, these are, I won't say manufactured, but they're clearly not, hand individually done. Let's put it that way. There is some form of machinery at play. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And yet some of them slip, some of them don't. Hence, I've brought out the elastic bands. Now, I do have on order from Amazon the orthodontic elastic bands, because these elastic bands need to be folded over twice. And I'm going to put them on here because, well, it's driving me insane. So, I need 2. Come on. These have to be these. I then get to take this knot off here like this, because that's what it likes anyway. I then have to put on the end and twist like this and roll it up. It's a bit more fun with the bobbin, the beads in the middle, but then this can go and sit up here at the top, and it stops it running away, because, well, elastic bands have got a fair bit of friction, and, well, that's all it needs, really. I missed. I am a cack-handed soul, which is part of the reason that I need Nautical to help me with the knot, because the whole bunny ears thing is, I'm a cack-handed soul, and the bunny ears thing is just too much, and I'm sure Nautical will agree with me, is that it's really hard to follow what he's doing. Not because of what he's doing, because what he is doing is perfectly fair. It's what he says that distracts you from what he's doing and really puts you off the whole kind of shenanigans. So, not Ken sent me a picture. Oh dear Lord. Well, I get the principle. Practicalness is potentially a little beyond me at this point. But it also means that all I have to do to pull them is, well, pull them. Twisty. Doody-do. You go over there. Pull you down a bit. You've just lengthened yourself as well, you miserable bobbin. Thank you. Which is why I've got out the other elastic bands, so that I have 2 colours, but The orthodontic elastic bands that I have ordered come in, well, it says multicoloured. I think there's 3 colours or something. But I also have quite a few of them, so because, well, they're really cheap. Not that these elastic bands are expensive, please note, but the small elastic orthodontic ones, so you know, which will make these look huge in comparison, are really quite cheap. So, oh, and adverts, excellent. Pictures. More pins. These pins feel really, really thin compared to the pins we were using towards the end of the last square, which is kind of weird. Oh, that's a really good question. Given that it's nearly March, Christmas hearts seem slightly off season. So, a ribbon or an LED candle ribbon. I kind of like the idea of the LED candle ribbon myself. I do like those. I think that's a cunning plan. Definitely those. In my humble opinion, of course. You're free to ignore me, of course. But as you asked and all that. Sometimes we are kind of rabbit in the headlights with our choices. I mean, when I was prepping for this square, I could have kept the same bobbins as I had last time, or tried these new shiny ones, which I have been using on my Flanders project and really like. And well, sometimes you're kind of like, I sat there almost paralysed in decision, because I really like these bobbins, but at the same time, it was a lot more work to, you know, transfer the thread onto the bobbins, but then I get to play with the bobbins I like. But I also didn't really have the time, and so I asked people, and the nice people went, play with the new shinies. So I am playing with the new shinies, and I am grateful to them. And we can't send another photo. Hang on. Okay. So let me see. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. At least that's worthy of a stick. So let's put a stick under you. Stick. They do grip on these beads quite nicely. And then we need a stick for you. At least temporarily. Now, depends what I'm going to do next, doesn't it, I guess? She says changing her mind, actually. So, you come off there a minute. You two can come in here and fill up this one. Like that. That brings this stick over here. Right. You can go around the corner over there. You can go around the corner over here. Now, the biggest problem I have with these, because they do more easily slide out the sticks, is that if threads catch on pins, which threads do very well, as we all are aware, they fall out the thing really easily. So if I do this, which is the right thing to do, because we don't need those just now, and we don't need all of these, but we will need some of these. So we need, in fact, all of them, bar the pretty ones. So let's poke you out of there for a minute. And slide you under there, because, well, the stick's just going to be extra bulk. Slide you out the way. Now we need more bobbins. More bobbins! And these two, the half hitches, have come off the top again, which is slightly annoying. Now, I was looking at this and realised that there are many other ways I could do this, and that relying on the rows at the top, which is arguably what it's for, by the way, this is under the half hitch, but the half hitch is staying close to the bobbin and not coming out to play. Pokey thing. Come on. Out you come. There you go. So you need to come around here like that. And then I can wind you back up a bit. Like that. And you like this. Would have been to wind the thread towards the base of the bobbin here rather than the top, which is the logical place, because many of the bobbins, as you know, I have had tapered necks. These don't look to be tapered. I mean, I haven't actually measured them, but they don't seem to be tapered. As a result, if I wound it at the bottom, it would probably stay at the bottom, or at least primarily stay at the bottom. And so I would be able to then see it's just come off again. And this is what they do. They do it to annoy me. And I know everybody uses half hitches, but you know, sometimes I swear super glue is the answer, right? Which is why I have got the elastic bands, because sometimes this is just, and sometimes if you do this double wrap here like this, wrap this around, which does help sometimes, but sometimes it does not. Sometimes it then means that you can't adjust the bobbin without wanting to, you know, eradicate small countries, and it just becomes frustrating. So we are adding bobbin So it is a frustration and challenge to my existence, one for which I do not feel adequately equipped mentally, because it's just, well, having done my working hour week, I need something to go my way for a change, you know, would be nice. Hey children, play guess what mistake Liz did this time. What does Liz always forget to do? Because Liz is stupid. And this one as well. Oh, at least I'm consistent. This time we're going to twist all the bobbins. Start again. Hey Quicks, how you doing? Welcome to the channel. It's not complicated. It's one of those... Technically, it's actually really not complicated because, let me demonstrate. There are two moves. There is cross, which is left over right, and there is twist, which is right over left. And I'm actually going to need to do that again. That's it. That is everything. So in theory, really simple, right? No, it's like playing Connect 4. In theory, really simple. In practice, gets a lot harder. It isn't hard. It is one of those kind of. It's not hard. It really isn't hard. But what is hard is you need to be consistent. And it is very easy for stupid things. So, for example, forgetting to twist the pear because it doesn't already have a twist on it when starting something. Or because as you change between stitches, some have twisteds at the end of it, some do not, right? And you'd think that... shut up, dog! You'd think that, you know, that it would be easy because, well, you can see if they're twisted or not, right? Well, you can. Do you? No. It is. It's. The principle is really not hard. You know, if you were here, you could make some lace really quickly. Well, it is and it isn't. Normally you only forget to do the twists between the stitches. Everywhere else you kind of, because like for example this section here that I'm doing is called ground stitch, and that is done by cross twist, and then you put a pin in and you do cross twist again. So chances are you don't tend to forget to put twists or anything in that. What does go wrong is if you have to stop in the middle of doing something. So these little squares, for example, they are made of the same cross twists, and you do them in a kind of bundle of four. And what it actually makes are these little kind of squircles here. And that's great. Wonderful. Marvellous. But if you stop in the middle, your brain can kind of fart. So you can make mistakes. It's not impossible. But generally, for me, at least, most of the mistakes are in the transition between stitch A and stitch B, which is why I tend to work in blocks of the same stitch. So I'm going to run down here, probably get to this bottom bit, or I may stop here depending on the mood, right? Because the more bobbins on the cushion, well, the more bobbins on the cushion and in the way. But I need to at least go down to this line here so that I can do this cloth stitch here, which means I can then do these ones here, and then it, you know, kind of works in that direction. So there are... Now, mistakes do happen, and as we found out yesterday, I'm really good at them. And so what had happened was a thread had caught on a pin and it created a really big loop in this bit. And I had to half undo this to go back because big fat loops show. Now, the lack of twists between the things result in two parallel lines rather than a crossed pair. And, well, you do have to be close enough to notice. So, my general rule of thumb is, if I haven't taken the pins out, I will go and fix it. If it's behind, and so for sake of if I spotted a real big gaff in here still, while these ones still have pins in, that is only for sanity and tension reasons, so technically we're pretending that they aren't there, I would not go back quite that far. As you say, if it is a little dependent on how noticeable it is. So, for example, if I get to somewhere and I haven't got the right bobbins because I screwed it up, because, well, you can. So, for example, during the cloth stitch thing, you don't just make a straight line. You actually add one side and take one off the other. So, like building Lego diagonals, you don't have diagonal bricks, you move over a line. So, it works the same. And as a result of that, you can forget to take a pair off, and then because you didn't take a pair off, you haven't remembered to add one the other end. Then you end up with the wrong number of bobbins at the bottom, and your brain's going, well, how did I do that? And that will show. All of those will show, because then you haven't got the right bobbins for the next section, because, well, you've got, there's, like, I know, because there's, a pair for each of these dots, well, if there isn't a pair, then it's not going to look right. One's going to be at a stupid angle, and it will start looking really wrong. So there are times you can fudge it, and times when you can't. Mostly can't is the short answer. But, to be fair, there are worse things in life. Not very long. Now, I did do some when I was a little kid. And when I say some, I mean, someone marked like straight lines on a sheet of paper, put some pins at the top, hooked some bobbins over and said, do this stitch until I tell you to stop, kind of thing. So I did. So I'm just trying to untangle these because these are looped over. And I have wonky eyesight, which means that I can't tell whether things are on top of each other or not, or underneath each other, and which way around they're twisted. So this kind of thing is a nightmare for me. There we go. No, don't just loop back up, you buggers. However, I woke up one day last year and my brain went, hey Liz, yes brain, I want to do lace making. Brain, we haven't done that in like 40 years. Yeah, but I want to do it now, said Brain. So I got onto Amazon and I ordered a couple of bits, because you do not need fancy fancies to do lace making. And so I ordered, because I had some styrofoam, I ordered a bit of cloth to cover it with, because that's a thing. And I ordered some dolly pegs, because, well, that was a thing. And I ordered some thread, so that was a thing. And pretty much the next day they all arrived. I made my test pillow, which is still one of my most favourite pillows, by the way, and set about making some lace. And I made a bookmark, and I was quite pleased with myself because, well, technically it was the first time I ever got to the bottom of an item and had to do... Read the title. It is going to be a net curtain. I'm going to join them all together, a bit like a patchwork quilt. I'm going to join them all together, and it would be a net curtain. This is the plan. How well this goes, well, we'll see when we get to joining them together. But it's going to take me about 18 months to make all the squares, so, yeah, looking forward to that. And that's okay. I am making a net curtain. Now it is for a single window, so it's not for like one of those double windows or even the triple window that's in this room. It is purely for a single window that is sad by itself at the top of my stairs, where I am going to be the only one that will see it. So to be honest, if it's really wrong, yeah, whatever. It's not really going to achieve anything because it's at the top of the stairs, so it's not really doing a job there. Because, well, you're not going to casually walk past the top of my stairs because, well, it's at the top of the stairs. And so unless you've learned to fly and you come visit my house, you're not likely to be trying to peer through the window. So, but I am not a lace girl. It is not something I wish for about my person. It is not something I need about my house. So this was the only thing I could think of that I would actually use. So here I am. Now, of course, Brain is already planning a can we do one in one piece scenario. Following Silver of Dragons kind of shawl antics, my brain has been a little bit more, but I really want to do a whole one. And it is like a small child. My brain is a small child. It's like 5 years old. And it throws monumental strops when it doesn't get its way. Which is why I tend to do what it wants. Because, well, I'm just wanting an easy life. And I don't need my brain fighting me about it and causing me grief when... Hello! Welcome to my house. The land of the unfinished. To be honest, I think most crafty type of people do. I think if you do any form of hobby, to be honest, if you've got a hobby, unless your hobby is playing a musical instrument, and even then probably not, as someone who can also play musical instruments, I can tell you now that one instrument is not enough. Because if you can play the violin, you can play the viola. If you can play the viola, you can play the cello. If you play the cello, you can play a double bass. If you can play all of those, you can play... any instrument in the musical orchestra that has a tune on it. However, I have exam qualifications in violin, flute and piano. Unfortunately, a bit like the curly hair, straight hair scenario, music is not what I wanted to be good at. I wanted to be good at drawing. Cellos are cool, frankly. The one thing I will say to you is that I would love to be able to draw. I can't even do stick men. I can't even write properly. But I have always wanted to be able to draw. Both my mother and her mother were great. Well, obviously, my mother was not. My mother was a good artist, but no one would ever know because she never really did anything. My mother's mother designed the fairy baby, right? My mother's side of the family can draw and are quite sickeningly talented. My dad's side of the family were good at other things. I am the only musical one and I cannot draw. So we don't know where I got it from, but I did. So I am musical, but I didn't want to be. I never wanted to be. It's not what I wanted to do in life. I had many things that I wanted to be good at. Some of them I were better at, some I was not better at. So, for example, as a child, I always wanted to be a gymnast and didn't have the opportunity until I got to year 3 junior school, so I'd have been about 9, and I had the opportunity. The teacher had said, if you want to join the gymnastics team, you have to be able to do the splits. Well, I could. So I got to join the gymnastics team. Well, the training for the gymnastics team, if you know what I mean. Anyway, I very quickly got into the gymnastics team. I very quickly became their best gymnast. And to the point I was offered a chance to train with the Olympic squad. Now, with Lou too, if successful and winning enough things, I would be potentially going in that direction. My parents said no. So I didn't get to do that. I was offered at a very early, very early age, a chance to train with the Royal Ballet. I never had dreams of being a ballerina. And my parents said no. Guess what? My dad's favourite thing to do in the last 20-something years of his adult life was to watch the Royal Ballet and all the kids at the Royal Ballet School, that could have been me. But he didn't let me go and find out if I could do it. So, slight bitterness on that front, understandably so. Because they were, well, certainly the gymnastics thing was one that I definitely wanted to do. Now, I do appreciate why my parents said no, but as a child, I did not. I was very resentful for that, because it was the one thing I actually wanted to do, and it was the only thing I wasn't allowed to do. You want me to be good at something. Well, here's something I am good at. Oh, you can't do that. For fuck's sake. It's... So yeah, I was somewhat bitter as a child for that. And clearly as an adult, I won't say I've entirely forgiven them for it. I do now understand why they did it. But at the same time, they didn't say why they didn't do it to me. They just told me no. And I think if they'd explained it to me, even though I was young, I was not entirely stupid, I would have understood. And the simple reason they didn't do it was because we couldn't afford it. We couldn't afford for my parents to be trouncing around the country doing gymnastic competitions and paying for a private school for me to have an education around my gymnastics. So I do get it. Although my parents did try to put me through a private school. And I still to this day don't know how my parents would have afforded that. And I would love to be able to ask them, how did you think that you were ever going to afford doing that? But thankfully, I failed both entries for different reasons. The one with the most music turned me down because of my exam results, because of course no one diagnosed me as dyslexic till after I left school. And the one with the lesser music turned me down because they decided I wasn't musical enough. So it's kind of funny. I was musical enough for the better music school with the higher standards, but somehow I obviously really screwed up in my exam. And yeah, whatevs, As a child, there was a whole big pile of whatevs, because of course none of my friends would have been going, so my heart wasn't really in it. But it was, so my parents couldn't have afforded that. But it was funny how they were prepared to do it for music, but not for gymnastics. But I didn't want to do I didn't want to do music. It's not what I wanted. So yeah, that was something that irked me for many years. Just because, I really wanted to do gymnastics and they wouldn't let me. But I do think that most hobby people, irrelevant of what hobbies you have, whether it's painting, drawing, photography, whether it's some form of arty crafty thing, you tend to have a bit of the, ooh, a squirrel kind of, ooh, is that more interesting? Is that better? Or does that, even in terms of just for your tools, I mean, Christ knows, how many bobbins have I been playing with? And it's not that I hate any except for the Midlands bobbins, because they are the work of the devil. But, it is... it is one of those things, is that an awful lot of it is you're trying to find... It's like Home Citizen's arse groove on his couch, right? He has perfected his arse groove. He and it are at one. And tools can have the same. Whatever hobby stroke type thing you've got, whether it's knitting, whether it, you get on better with these knitting needles over those knitting needles. Yet realistically, there are, you know, X millimetre wide. Well, there's a lot of that, but there's also, from a tool perspective, there is the, well, I really like these, but I wish that they had X, and, you know, I know, pointier tips, or, you know, sturdier bottoms, or, you know, a little bit less that, or, you know, insert some random thing relevant to the tool of choice, right? More control of speed, whatever it is, right? Then you get into the, well, but if I can do that, well, I must be able to do that. And I mean, to be honest, if we each owned an underground warehouse, like one of those nuclear bunker things that's designed for like 100 people to live for 50 years in, those kind of things, most crafters, given the money, could fill that with gadgets and supplies. Because, well, if you do this hobby, you could do that hobby. If you do that hobby, you can do this hobby. And suddenly you've basically got all the hobbies. And now you need like a room for each one to keep things a bit more organised. And it is an absolute nightmare because, I mean, for example, as the daughter of a carpenter, so many of the things related to crafting are a rip-off. I'm sorry, but you know, with all the best will to all of the people who do bother to make them, they're seriously overcharged, right? And now it's not that it doesn't take time, effort, gadgets, and all the rest of it. We get that. But when a picture frame with a few bits of broom handle sticking out of it is the best part of £200, no. Frankly, just no. And that's right, this one's a bit more complicated. Oops, that's not the pear, that's the pear. Let's put those over there. So, you know, but I sit there and an awful lot of the crafty things that I do that have wooden bits in, I could make that. I'm perfectly capable of making it. I just don't have the equipment. But I also don't really have anywhere to keep the equipment, so hence I don't have the equipment. And then there's the, I wonder how if I could make that out of resin thought, or 3D print that, and suddenly you spend, you know, £5,000 on a part of equipment just so you can make, I don't know, 100 bobbins, right? Slight overkill, didn't really need to be doing that, but you did it anyway. And so if you know, won the European lottery or something, which is like usually somewhere in the region of 350 million, you know, if you've won one of those kind of lotteries, there will be signs, right? You'll be, you know, your name will go up on some local nuclear bunker, and you'll be filling it with every supply and every gadget that your little heart desired, preferably in a pile of dogs. So, and then you'll lock yourself in it and never be seen again. Because, well, maybe you'll finally catch up with all those projects that you've been planning. Or is that just me? I'm pretty sure it's not just me, though, that's for sure. But it is that kind of principle, is that, you know, if you won 350 million on the lottery tomorrow, you know, honey, we're just buying this nuclear shelter. What? Well, I need somewhere to put my wool. You know, what? I'm just nipping out to my she shed, you know. Gets in the Land Rover, drives, you know, 100 miles to the nearest nuclear bunker, you know. Maybe not quite that bad, but you know what I mean, right? It would be a bit of that. I'm just going for a month to my bunker. I'll be back in a bit. There's pizza in the fridge. Enjoy, you know. I mean, to be honest, living in a nuclear bunker, I can live without sunlight. I really, really can. As long as there's electricity and an internet, I'm cool. I'll be happy with that. I keep seeing things on social media about, you know, could you not leave the house for a week? What do you mean a week? I last went out at the beginning of December. Fuck off. A week? I wouldn't even notice a week. It's, what do you mean? Good. Good. Honey. If I hadn't had to go out in December, it would have been since August. I'd be looking forward to my anniversary. I only went out in August for a blood test. Mind you, I've got to go out for another blood test, so I suppose, you know. But, you know, if they'd let me stab myself and send it in, that would be great, you know. I can squeeze drops into a vial for them, I'm sure of that. It'd probably hurt less as well. I mean, I stabbed myself well enough with pins. I managed to do a bad thing a couple of days ago, for those who are not normally on the stream. As you can tell, lace making uses quite a few pins. And while I am really queen, I mean, I've got this tiny little box of pins here, look. Just a little box of pins here. It's 500 grams of pins. And, well, I did a bad thing. I brought my sandwich in, put it on my table. I didn't have a plate, kind of obvious, but, you know, didn't have a plate because, well, I don't normally need a plate, so I didn't have a plate. Because it doesn't make crumbs, it's not that kind of, it's not a bread sandwich, it was a wrap roll thing, right? And I picked it up, chomped into it, nom nom nom. Put it down, picked it up, chomp chomp chomp, nom nom nom. Put it down, picked it up, chomp, ow! A pin had got attached to my sandwich and I bit it and the pin went straight in my tongue. And more to the point, it's almost like I can still feel it. 2 days later. Everything's fine. No, you know, nothing was overly harmed in this process. But the hardest part was because right, sometimes occasionally, she says grabbing a pin to demonstrate. There you go, there's one. I'm going to do it. Nope, that one's not going to work. Let's do it in that thumbnail. That usually works. So occasionally you get a thick pin and it will kind of attach itself to you. This is under my nail, by the way. But it's not really there. Now, sometimes you can stab it slightly into your skin and it's, I'm not going to say it's comfortable, but it's kind of at the skin layer and it's just kind of briefly in your thumb and you kind of knock it out and that's it. It's done. No, this was kind of like halfway into my tongue. And well, your tongue's a muscle and doesn't tend to sit still when you want it to. You might think that it's done. It's like your eyeballs. If you weren't aware, your eyeballs are never still. If you stare at something really, really hard, your eyeballs are actually doing this. Because if they didn't, things disappear. Seriously, things disappear. Which is how some of the optical illusion stuff works, right? And so your eyes actually constantly move. And of course, if they're moving, you try grabbing, through a load of sandwich, a little pin that's only half sticking out of your tongue. While at the same time going, ow! You know, it was a distinctly unpleasant scenario, because of course I've got no one that could come rescue me from this. And of course you can't shut your mouth because, well, ow, because it just pushes it into your tongue even more. And so it was highly undesirable. I do not recommend. Definitely do not recommend this to be tried. It is not something you should aspire onto your bucket list. It is definitely one to be avoided at all costs, frankly. And as Zukin said yesterday, that's enough to put me off it as a hobby. Yep, pretty much. Because I am the queen of pinging pins around when I try and pick them up. Yeah, it is. I'm really impressed that there's not been pins in dog paws or other parts of my good self. That I haven't sat on any. I'm really good at putting my arms in them. Well, exactly. It was kind of along those lines. It really was. There were words not fit for sharing. And I know them all. In a couple of languages, some of them. It really was an unpleasant experience, and it is definitely something that the quantity of pin is my ability to throw them, because I can pick them up and they just like leap out my hand. So then, of course, they've gone into the great beyond, and I don't actually know always where they've gone. And I do find pins all over the place. They obviously get into my jumper or whatever and leap out at other dates. So they literally, they're like dog hairs. They're everywhere. And it is definitely not a good thing. We need to not be having pins everywhere. But we also need them not to be in my mouth. At least I didn't swallow it or bite it in half and swallow it or something. You know, at least it did kind of stay in my mouth and then I could rescue it. But what if, for example, I'd managed not to and I'd just swallowed it whole? That could have been really bad. So that was definitely not one of my happier moments this week. And I was distinctly unimpressed with it. So yes, Jamie, there were words said on the matter. That pin has now been banished, I think, to the furthest end of the garden. I launched it a bit. Get out and stay out kind of thing. Bit Doctor Who style. Bad beans, get out! You know. Yeah, definitely not recommendable, that one. But like everything, it's not something you give a lot of thought to. Until it happens, and then your brain kind of goes, well, I suppose in hindsight it was kind of obvious that a plate would be a good idea, but having been doing this for, you know, months and not done it to date, and not been even close to doing it to date, well, it was not my first thought, because, you know, it just wasn't. It is, of course, now. It's almost I want to eat that. Are there pins in that? Shall I run a magnet over it to check? Yeah. The other problem I've got is, much as this is a glorious amount of pins, if you look, very few of them are stubbly end up. They're nearly all pointy end up. It's really hard to grab a pin by the pointy end. Because A, there's nothing to grab onto. B, ouch. So I'm yeah. But I do have my beautiful pot pins, for which I'm happy. Which is why it can take me quite a while sometimes to grab a pin, because I'm trying to grab it by the sharp end. And oh, that's all right. You are. It's because the knots there. That's what it is. For those who are not familiar with the lace making process, because obviously there are, as I understand it, there might be 8 of you watching right now. Lace making is not a quick hobby. In fact, it's quite a rather slow hobby. Hence, in the handful of months that we've been doing this, and the 120 something videos that I have made of generally a couple of hours long minimum, some of them being 5 or 6, we have completed 5 squares and this much of the next one. So it is not for the it is not something you make over a weekend. I mean, you can do a bookmark in that kind of time, depending on the bookmark. And occasionally, yes, you do see on YouTube and the like, women who frankly just seem to pick a bobbin up and go, "Nee," and like 6 inches of lace falls out the bottom. Those people are not normal. Most of us are. Hang on. There we go. That's right. My earphone case had grasped onto a stick and was being annoying. Those people are not normal. Those are the people who have been doing it like 60 years of their life, and like, you know, all weekend and every evening, all of that time, and do not have multiple hobbies. The rest of us, well, there's quite a few videos. There's a girl who's quite famous. She's been on TV a lot for doing lace making because she's into fashion and she's made her own lace to go with it. I'm impressed she's ever finished a bookmark at the speed she moves. I mean, I thought I was slow. It's almost painful. And, I mean, don't get me wrong, she makes some pretty stuff. But at the same time, you're kind of going, haven't you outgrown? You know, your body shape could have changed so much in the time it took you to do that. You know, gained a bit of weight, lost a bit of weight kind of deal. Surely that becomes a problem when it takes you, you know, kind of like 2 months to make a bookmark. So, yeah. But she does make some pretty stuff, don't get me wrong. It's one of those, I wonder how come you're famous for it, though. It was always the question I had on my mind come exam day. So, when the exam results came out in the UK, oh look, stupid bobbins fell apart. In the UK, come the exam results day, they inevitably have some child on TV waiting for their results, and it's always some kid who's likely to get straight A's. It's never some kid who's going to have failed everything. But I always wondered how that kid got picked. What made that kid so special? How did, you know, why them? Why not somebody you knew? Why not even you? But more to the point, why is it, you know, what made it that kid? Why him, her, it, whatever? Why was it never somebody you've, you know, from your school? Why was it never someone you've heard of or met or... No, that just came straight out. It was always, you know, and to an extent, I think my brain has always latched onto that question. You know, what made them so special? Why are they... Because, for example, you'll see it at work, right? It's really common at work. Some guy at work, not being gender specific in that, just some random dude at work, male, female, that haven't decided today, whatever, right, will be promoted. Yeah, it's not someone who you know, let's say it's someone that you know in a department that you are either part of or are aware of. It's not because they're great at their job. It's not because they did the most for the department. It's not because they saved the day. It's not because come the revolution, they were there helping the troops. It was, it just seems to be some random dude. And in the UK, company directors are different to directors in an American firm. So company directors in the UK are monetarily responsible for the company. So should the company be deemed to have done hideous stuff, the directors themselves are personally reliable for it. So, for example, if you lost your leg at work, right, that they would be personally liable for the fact that the company was not doing a good enough job to protect you. The number of people I've seen being given company directorship level out of the blue, for want of a better word, is quite scary. Because the number of the people who I've seen made, now not all of them, I'm perfectly going to say it's not all of them, but I have seen a number who were people who frankly would be, you know, struggling to ask, do you want fries with that, become company directors. And you're kind of going, dude, you couldn't even get the coffee run right. How are you a director? And more to the point, you've gone from below everybody else to company director in one leap. You didn't work your way up kind of thing. You went from, you know, post boy to company director in a heartbeat. How is it then that you're, you know, who do you know, what do you know, and how come? And I've never understood it. You know, again, it's the what made you the right choice? What did they see in you, the most incompetent person we've met, be the right person for that choice? And I guess I've always wondered, because A, it's never me. Well, that's not always a bad thing. But, you know, it's always that's fine. You know, I'm pleased for you. You know, great, wonderful. You know, congratulations on your new job, and genuinely mean it. But at the same time, there is a part of me going, but what do you have that none of the rest of us did? And having met some of them, you know, your first natural reaction is you've got photos, because there is no other redeeming quality of this individual. And I'm not saying my current company does that, because, to be honest, I've not seen it in my current company. I'm thinking of some of these smaller companies that went before. I've seen it in most of those, to be honest. The smaller companies that went before, in the land before time, right? And it always bothered me. Not because it wasn't me, but because it wasn't someone who had done a really good job, who probably would do the job really well. Someone who was very clever or very understanding, very knowledgeable about what goes on. And of course, the main reason, of course, it's never them is because they need them staying to do the job. But it always puzzled me as, so, you know, this useless airhead that you found is now company director, and is going to boss everybody around and make lots of stupid decisions and spoil the company, and usually does. So why did you pick them? I mean, a friend of mine, well, he's dead now, but a friend of mine, I used to work with, he was great. He really was a brilliant person to work with. He always used to ask me the question, so, they lied on their CV and got the job. Congratulations. Because, you know, most people do exaggerate, stroke, lie on their CVs. I never have, which is probably why I don't do well. How did you keep the job when you are proving to be, you know, incapable of all the things that are required? How is it that you've managed to keep the job and not been fired for incompetency? And it was always, you know, part of the reason we got on so well was because he was always so open and honest about it. I miss him terribly, actually, because he was a good laugh. But he was right. There were so many people that we saw that, you know, probably couldn't have got a glass of water without screwing it up. But somehow they were managers of departments, and you're like, how can you be in such a, you know, leadership position when you couldn't even lead a fart out of a space, you know, out of a tunnel? It's just not, no. Yeah. But that's the way it goes, the way it goes. So for any of you lurking newbies, you are allowed to ask questions, you know. And save the general rants of the day, because, you know. Hooray! Good for you! Poor old naughty cat. See, it's not as easy. He makes it look really easy in that video. By the way, you have... guys, you have no idea how patronising this video is. Let me get you the URL for it, because frankly, nothing on this earth is more patronising than this dude and his bunny ears trying to explain a knot. And to the point, you actually lose concentration on what he's talking about because he is banging on about these wretched bunnies. Pretty much. I will... Hang on. I will share you the link. There you go. It is not that he is not capable of doing the knot that we are trying to learn. He clearly is. The problem is it's like he was trying to do it after we'd had 6 pints of beer at the barbecue, right? It just doesn't... I get too distracted by his bunny analogies. Now, bear in mind, I am the queen of analogies and going off subject, but I'm also not the one instructing people how to do things on a YouTube video. So, you know, he clearly set out to do it as a YouTube video. It's not like it's not like you decide to take a snip out of my video of me doing something and, you know, it's kind of mid something else. He clearly set out to do this. This was an intentional start to finish video. So it really doesn't help. Now, do I stop here or do I go to the bottom? Because those are the additional bobbins to go to the bottom. I've already got a monster pile of bobbins over here. Yeah, let's keep going. I don't really want additional bobbins on my cushion unless I can help it. However, due to the flatness and the fact that it's an easy thing to do, we will keep going. You've come undone. So yes, Naughty Cat making bunny ears. You have no idea how... He makes it look pretty simple, but when you come to do it, as you might have seen from me trying to do it earlier, it doesn't always work out quite the way you want. And I've just had a response from something that I've been waiting for, well, fucking ages actually. So let's see. Fuck's sake. I've been writing to Logitech for 3 weeks now because my cameras aren't set to automatically renew. And I've been asking why, because it now very much says you can't change an active one and you can't start a new one. And the support team wrote back, just start a new one. What part of it says you cannot do that do you not get? Well, I've just had a response that says automatic billing stopped, order number this. Automatic renewal turned off. You will now need to renew before this date. Please, please renew it. Well, I didn't stop the renewal, and this was kind of my question. Why is it being stopped when I do not want it to be stopped? And I'll have to ring them next week because I'm not doing it now. Automatically renewal has been turned off. Yeah, about 3 months after you did it, by the sounds of it. And every time, seriously, I must have written to them about 6 times with them going, oh, you just need to go to this link. Well, first of all, that link's not the actual link. That just takes you to a login page. But, okay, I've been to that link, and it says you're not allowed to do that. And they go, and you send them a screen print, you send them everything, and they kind of write back with, well, yes, but you just need to go here and do... I can't. I need a pin out of my pot, thank you. And you're coming undone again. There we go. Now we need a pin. Reminds me, when are the Amazon man supposed to be coming? Have a quick look. See when Amazon man's... See that, or he's already been, because for those who are not aware, certainly in the UK, Amazon men do not knock at the door. Amazon men ninja it and flee before you even know. And then it's been sitting in the rain for 2 hours because they, quote, put it through your door, handed it to resident while leaving it in the middle of your lawn. Unfortunately, I've got a porch, but it's not a closed porch. It is an open porch. And it is quite windy today, although we're not under a notification of desperateness. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It is quite windy, and my back door's kind of flung itself open and smacked itself into the light behind, which was already broken, so I don't even have to go and look, because, well, it was already broken. And... hoping I've got the right number of things. I do, I think. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yes. The reason there is doubt was because when I got to the end yesterday, I thought I'd got the right number. That's a good thing. Well, for example, my postman knows not to feed the dogs my parcels, so even if they do go through the door, he rings the doorbell. He does actually ring the doorbell, rings the doorbell, and then puts them, you know, on my doormat, so they're quite safe there, because he knows full well that pretty much by the time he's got out my driveway, I'm opening the door to get it, because he rings the doorbell. The problem with the Amazon people is they do not attempt to contact the human of the house. They don't attempt to contact anything of the house. They just literally almost, you know, cartoon little black ninjas in their little kind of ninja costumes up through, you know, round and kind of like blend in with the bush and all sorts. And then they sneak it and poof, cartoon style, back to their van. In my old house, where I sat, so if I sat here, the window was there, and the front door was here. So I had visibility. Yeah, I mean, literally, I'm sitting here, I can see the front door, right? The number of times I would see a man in front of the door, by the time I could walk the like 5 metres round the corner, not only had he gone, he was back in the van and driving away. It was like they could teleport. Mind you, one of the funniest moments I saw, you know, in like cartoons when they leap out their skin and you see like a little skeleton and then the skin's next to it. I almost saw that in real life. I can't remember what he did, but I don't think the front door was shut for some reason. And he pushed the front door and the dog went, "Hello!" I have never seen a man move so fast. Literally, I honestly promise you, that dude teleported. Usain Bolt had nothing on this dude. Seriously. You know, I can just imagine, like, if you walked up behind the starting blocks at the 100-metre race and just went, woof. That bloke would have been at the 100-metre mark before the had finished, you know. It was so funny. I've never seen a man move so fast. Seriously. It was really impressive. But they seem to like go to ninja delivery school because they all do it. And yet if you look on the video, you can see they don't even try to knock. They all do this, but stop about this far short of the door. They don't actually touch the door. They do not make a sound. They do not. But the number of times they'll report they handed it to you. Really, I was out, dude. How did you hand it to me? Did my dog sign for that? I got a parcel the other day. Now, you may recall I have my beautiful sewing in contraption. She says, unwinding it a little bit, which is this. Now, I put the bent pin on. I stole the bent pin off a nasty, cheap wooden thing, and I put it in this because this is much more weighty and it's got a bit more for me to hang on to. And I quite like, well, the fact that this then is absolutely stable because it's, you know, the length of my hand. Well, I saw this. Kind of its brother. Now, its brother currently has, she says unscrewing the top, a stabby pin in it. And it too, there were 3 of them. This was the only one that came with a pin pushing the other end. Now this one is ribbed for its pleasure, for want of a bad joke. For some reason, I don't quite see why. I thought it was to screw it in something. But it's not, it's just ribbed. At least someone got it. So now I have kind of these 2 brass widgets. This one, as you can see, does not have a hole for the thread, but it does have a little cap for the stabby pin that doesn't actually go down because the stabby pin's too long. At least I think that's what's wrong with it. You can't actually screw it down properly. But it does have a hole in it. It's just that from one side it didn't seem to. It's because of the reflection of it. So I've now got 2 of these to assist with the where's my stick gone, you know. I know, right? We have to make jokes where we can, right? Exactly. But it's another pokey thing. I have also ordered a pin lifter, which is a dangerous thing in the lace making world. They advise generally not. It's kind of a 2-pronged bent fork, and the idea is you get underneath the head and pull, right? But in doing so, you often trap the thread and then rip the thread doing it, which is why they say not to. But picking at it with my fingernails is not really It does, and to be honest, having unpicked all those pins last time, because we pushed them all down, my fingers did feel a little bit sorry for themselves. So I decided that I would purchase a pin lifter, just so that, you know, if I'm having to do a lot of them, because the odd one is never really ever a problem. It's like anything, you can do pretty much one of anything, right? However, when you've got to do a lot of them, then the problems start, right? And so obviously that many pins was a bit much for my fingers, and they didn't really enjoy it. So we are buying a tool to assist should the assist be necessary. Because I didn't really have... I mean, technically you can use the end. So, for example, let me put this pen in before I forget. If I grab my usual pinning device, if I grab a pin... Hang on. It's easier said than done when they're all pointy end up. So, there we go. I've got two now. As is often my problem in life. But, for example, if I put this pin in here... and I push it down because it's easy to push one down, and it's not quite flat, but you can get this underneath and pull them up and then get hold of them. But even then it's kind of stabby because it doesn't grip the pin very well, because it is only a minor dent in the end of the widget. And so the pin lifter, which has much more of a V shape cut into it, and well, it is quite adept at cutting thread, as I understand it. But it will also lift up pins. And obviously you need to be careful with it. But it will get behind the more stubborner pin that I can't necessarily get at so well with my fingers. And you know, rather than pick, I can kind of go pick, screw it, dig, right, and now go back to my fingers. So... you know, because obviously I don't want to damage the thread. Because much like the glue thing, it is, I'm sorry, but if I put this much effort into it, I want it good. I do not want to hear, oh shit, or oops, you know? It's just not one of those things you need to hear in life, you know? Not when it takes nearly a month to make a square. The last thing you want to hear is the word oops. Now, obviously, coming from me, oops is not likely to be the letters. It's likely to have 4 letters on it. But principle applies, you know. An oops replacement is not what you need to be hearing. Because, you know, Murphy's Law states it will be somewhere that really matters, and the whole thing falls apart, and then there'll be tears and wailing and gnashing of teeth. So, that's right, my brain had a bit of a panic then, because of course I've put a pair over here on my table, didn't see them and thought I was one pair short. But no, last night when I was doing this, when I was finishing the bobbins, not those kind of 4 letters. We're talking the more forbidden 4 letters. Which, of course, is why work is a 4-letter word and fun is not. Alright. Sure I had an extra pin 2 seconds ago. Don't know where that went. Must have put them back in the pot. Or other variable replacements on those lines. Yes. Those ones that we don't want children to mimic. Those ones. You know what I mean. Because let's face it, we all know that ow is not sufficient if you wang your thumb really hard with a hammer. Ow is not sufficient. I have never forgotten the day when I broke my toe. I broke my big toe. Really friggin' hurt. Not too surprisingly. I kicked someone with it and my toe went snap. Right? I was deliberately supposed to be kicking them. I need to point that out. Now, the person I was kicking was basically a solid lump of muscle and barely even noticed that I made contact. But I was in a room full of small children. And all I could do for about 20 minutes was hop around the room going, toe. Because that was the only word I could say that was permissible in this scenario. I couldn't come up. Everything else was kind of being swallowed. And there'd be random toe in the middle. Yeah, that was fun. Not really enjoyed that. I think that's actually what's wrong with my middle fingers. I mentioned on stream yesterday that I've been having pains in my middle fingers, but it's not the joint. It's kind of about here where my nails are on my finger, on the bone. So it's above the joint, because the joint's here, obviously. But it's above the joint, but it's here on both of them. And it's more on top, so it's kind of here. I think it's because I wanged them too hard on people in karate. And, you know, changing of the weather and all that kind of stuff brings out the worst in bones. And I'm pretty sure that's what's wrong with my hands. So, I mean, it's not crippling or anything. It's just really uncomfortable. But really uncomfortable is bobbing off yesterday. Translate, please, Nautical. Liz the stupid strikes again. Not understanding question. It was probably meant as a joke and I completely missed it and spoilt it, so I do apologise for that. Depends what time it was, because I did nearly 3 hours yesterday. But I was also running out of bobbins, so I didn't really want to start much, because, well, I was a bit concerned because I was going to run out of bobbins for today. But I then had to stay up while it uploaded, and Oh, okay. I was tired, don't get me wrong, I'm often tired, but I remember not, sorry. My brain does this. It remembers all the pointless stuff and then forgets everything important. Pointy bit. Give me a pin. Thank you. I am very good at forgetting, because I talk a lot of crap while we're doing this. Partly because, well, I talk a lot of crap anyway, but also because, a little like a radio DJ, I do worry that people coming into stream, if all they hear is, you know, they join for like 10 minutes, and all I do is sit in deathly silence and never say anything. That's okay. You know, my friend Nautical, you can do that. That's fine. I appreciate all forms of attendance. Hell, you can put me on and go to sleep if you want. That's fine. I'm not going to criticise you for that. I've done that. I put a stream on meaning to watch it and sat down, you know, got a bit comfy, and the next thing I knew, who the hell's that? They bounced you on and it was 3 hours later, you know. I'm not going to say I haven't done that. No judging here, that's for sure. Right. So we now have all of our bobbins in play. But what we do have a problem of, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, is that realistically, these work in better of pairs of 6. Now, this then means we end up with an odd number of bobbins in certain places. Because, well, they do. So let's put you around there, because we won't need you for a while. Actually, we won't need you till next triangle. Who am I kidding? Well, a couple of you we will, but some of you we won't. See, now we've got 3 pairs of bobbins that don't fit in that one, don't fit in this one. So if we evict 3 from here, 1, 2, 3, and put you 3 in here. 1, 2. Well, I'm sure most of us who are over about the age of 12 have done this one. Oh, I really wanted to see that film. Film comes on TV. Either you've deliberately selected it or it comes on through scheduled brilliance. Yeah, I wonder what happened in that film because, well, next thing I knew, we were watching something else. So, because I slept through it. My most expensive one of those was one of the first times I slept through a film. We went to watch the first showing of RoboCop 2. I drove to Leicester Square. We parked in the NCP. We paid an awful lot of money to park in the NCP. Believe me, at would have been about 1990, maybe 89, somewhere around about there. Anyway, 20-something pounds to park for a few hours was more than plenty. I mean, it's still more than plenty. Let's face it. We got in, we sat down, they did the, preamble as they do in UK cinemas with, also on at this cinema and you can buy popcorn at, Bill's popcorn stand down the street that's currently shut because it's 1 o'clock in the morning. I remember and now the feature film kind of thing, the lights going dim. I woke up as the final credits rolled. I slept, and by the way, we paid about £15-16 each to watch this film, and I slept through it all. Now, in hindsight, if you've ever seen RoboCop 2 and 3, this was not a loss, right? But it was one of the most expensive sleeps I've ever had. Exactly, right? But I slept through it. And more to the point, my friends knew I slept through it and didn't want to wake me. I've just paid like 30-something quid, which was, not quite a week's wages, but, kind of almost getting there, right? It was certainly more than a few hours worth of work of my life, And you're telling me, because my rent at the time was only 150 quid a month, you're telling me that you knew I was asleep and you let me sleep through the film I'd been really looking forward to. You're my friends, right? Oh, we didn't, we knew you were tired because, it's 1 o'clock in the morning and we wanted you awake for when you drove home. So you let me sleep so that you had a safer drive home. But I could have just stayed in the NCP car park and slept and saved myself like 16 quid for the film. At least I'd have had no pretense then. Yeah, years later when I saw RoboCop 2, sleeping through it really was the wisest choice. Yeah. We've all done it though. I've tried to watch Aquaman 3 times now. I get bored about a quarter of the way in and fall asleep every time. Can't do it. There's also a book. There's a Stephen King book. Is it Nightmares and Dreamscapes or something? I start on page 1. By the time I've got to the bottom of page 1, I am out cold. I am like dead. And I've never read past page 1. So I got someone else to read it for me. Yeah, I don't remember what happened after the first first paragraph either. So I just literally, it's like there's a switch in my brain and my goes, dear God, not this, and puts me out. So needless to say, because obviously when we had the Johnny Depp Amber Heard court case thing, oh, she's in Aquaman, is she? I don't remember her in Aquaman. It was the door closing and it scared a pigeon. Woo! Although it was quite funny. I'm not actually sure that the pigeon didn't fly into the door. Yes, it was a pigeon. It was a whole pigeon. Yes. And at least it's not lying half dead on my bloody patio, which is what usually happens. Especially this time of year, actually. Usually a little bit later, but getting to that time of year where little birdies fly into my window and kill themselves. And, well, they don't kill themselves quickly. They lie twitchy, and I kind of want them to live, and then they die in my hands kind of moment, you know? As I'm saving them from the dog, you know. It is something I have become accustomed to dealing with, but not that I enjoy. Right, let's take you out of here. See, you don't feel right. No, it's just because you are wrapped around the bin. You shouldn't be. That's alright then. I thought I'd swing it up. Which of course is always a possibility. Not in this case. It is not the case. How did you end up? Oh no, you are supposed to be down there. That's right. But you are supposed to be wrapped around the pin, and you're not. So we put the pin out. Yeah. One of you has generated a smell, dog. There is a smell in this room, which is not desirable. No, smells like dead things. Up butts. Yes. Let's do this. So, you come out. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah. Twisty, twisty. We try and keep you over there momentarily. Pointy thing. Yeah. I mean, with all the advances we've made in the world, there are a few things to be grateful for. And we've always joked about smell-o-vision, but there are definitely times when, and now is most distinctly one of them, that smell-o-vision has not actually successfully happened yet. Because you do not wish to be sharing this noxious cloud with me. It would not enhance your enjoyment of the stream. I mean, it'd be quite cool if this was some form of holographic thing, so it was 3D and you could have a look and, you know, sit from any angle you wanted and, you know, all of that kind of stuff. But you don't need smell-o-vision for this, that's for sure. Cooking shows would be good. This is also true. But I'm talking about the, let's call them the professional cooking shows where, you know, so and so shows you how to make, you know, pho or whatever, and you know they can cook, so any outtakes or whatever have been completely scrapped. We're not talking the master chef or the can't cook won't cook kind of more amateur hoping to do well but doesn't really kind of moment. Um, like the Great British Bake Off, that one can go do one because I definitely don't want smell-o-vision for some of that. Dear Lord. I don't generally watch it, but I've seen some clips and it's like, you shouldn't be in a kitchen. No, no. Pay someone else to do it for your love. Just pay. Yeah. That reminds me, I heard a song I hadn't heard in a while, which I'm sure we all know. It gets called the Ketchup Song. Now, I don't know why it's called the Ketchup Song because none of the words are in English and none of it is the word ketchup. So I need to go and look up what the lyrics mean in English to find out why they call it the Ketchup Song, because it's bothering me that people call it the Ketchup Song, but I don't know why. See, this is the other problem. It's rolled off the top, but it's untwisted itself, but it's still round the thread like it's twisted. So now I have to work out how to do it so that it's not. And the short answer is you take it off the bottom so that it isn't, and then put it back on like that. That's far too long, stupid woman. Grab that. Binne. Stab. And this should take me to the corner, which it does. Sweet. I have to say, I haven't made a lot of progress today, have I? It's 2 hours in, and I've really done bugger all of nothing. Or it feels like I've done bugger all of nothing. But I think my brain is kind of done. Got the yawns now, hang on. Sorry. Right, so let's sort some of this out. You two can go in here to make up the numbers. Lucky you. And now we need to divide you into 2 pairs, which you're in. So although there aren't enough in either, there are at least a decent number in either. So that when I put the sticks on, they've got something. No, I just threw my sticks on the floor. Pile of stick. It'll be good for a bit longer, but I kind of need a nap. So, I'm going to call this a day. We shall take a photograph of the effort of the moment. And I apologise profusely for the fact that we didn't achieve a lot today. It is not one of my fastest triangles, that's for sure. My bobbin box down. Thank you. So there is a small chance I'll be back later if I wake up and I'm full of the joys of everything. Because one thing I will say is that I have distinctly noticed this week, whether it's again weather-wise or otherwise, is that at 1 o'clock in the morning I'm wide awake and ready to go. At this time of afternoon it's like it's 2 o'clock in the morning and I'm not ready to go. I'm distinctly unready to go, and so my clock is somewhat out of sync, and so I be tired. And all of those kind of things, but at kind of late at night I'm awake, rearing, ready to go. And you know, to be honest, if I didn't go to bed till 3 o'clock this morning, that'll probably be fine then, but right here right now I'm tired, so I need a nap is the short answer, whether I'm ready or not. If I'm back later, maybe I will see you there. If not, I shall try and see you for tomorrow. It has been a pleasure to have you all here. Thank you for coming. I'm just going to quickly see who's about. You're alright. You're going to live another day. Thank you all for sharing this time with me. And as I say, hope to see you again in the very near future. Bye!